ladies and gentlemen. May I ask you to take your seats, please? We are about to begin. So can you please take your seats? So, good afternoon.
I'll get it up to Jan.
I can't hear you. Good afternoon, everybody. I wish to welcome our distinguished guests from the European Commission, from the Maltese Ministry of Education, from our ministries in eTwinning and eTwinning Plus, and of course, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, in eTwinning. Very welcome to this, our 13th eTwinning conference. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that not all our speakers this afternoon will necessarily speak in English. And we have available over here some headsets which will, we have the translation of all the proceedings in 3 languages this afternoon, in English, French, and German. So if you wish to use them, they're available over here. Please come and collect them. If you use them, channel 1 is English, channel 2 is French, channel 3 is German. I also would like to welcome, looking straight at this camera, all those people who are joining us this afternoon in the live stream. The whole opening ceremony of this conference will be streamed to eTwinners across Europe. So welcome if you're watching us live. For those of you in the audience who use Twitter, and indeed our distant audience as well, this is the official Twitter hashtag for the conference. Please use this in all the comments that you make. We want to be trending today, so keep tweeting. But just before we start, I wanted to see who's here. Can you show me who's in Malta for the first time? Oh, most people. Great. Any eTwinning ambassadors with us? eTwinning ambassadors? Lots of them. Any prize winners? 4 prize winners today. Congratulations, we'll talk to you later. Who is attending the conference for the very first time? The very first time at an eTwinning conference. You are very welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. But the theme of this year's conference is turning inclusion into action. As we know, Europe has faced many challenges, both politically and socially, in the last few years. And for this reason, I think it's important for us to see inclusion as part of the backbone of the Europe of the future. Inclusion gives us strength and stability. With strength and stability comes economic growth, and with economic growth comes a growth in employment opportunities, a more stable society, something that benefits us all. And all of these features are very much part of the 10 key priorities of the European Commission for the next 5 years. So it's fitting now that I should introduce Rodrigo Ballester, member of the Cabinet to the European Commissioner for Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, who will formally open the conference on behalf of the European Commission.
The organizers, the participants, dear eTwinners from all over Europe and beyond, dear colleagues, dear representative of the Maltese authorities, in the very first place, many thanks on behalf of Commissioner Navracic for this invitation. My commissioner is responsible for you, for education, culture, youth and sports in the European Union. Extremely happy that we were invited here and we are able to share a bit our thoughts and also to spend some time here with you to listen and also to show how much eTwinning matters for us. There are occasions where we are especially happy to be here and share those moments, and this is definitely one of them. Why? Because from the very beginning of this mandate, some years ago, when the very first time we saw eTwinning and we started to get acquainted with it, we had clearly the impression, and the Commissioner really had this impression, to be in front of a hidden gem. A gem, certainly, and one that only calls to be consolidated and to grow even more. Why did we have this impression that indeed we were in front of a special project, of one that has really a special charm? Basically for two reasons. The very first one is the structure, the very idea of eTwinning. eTwinning is very, very flexible. The Commission was extremely proud and happy to support it, to fund it, to launch it some 13 years ago. But eTwinning is something, and this is really part of its charm, that belongs much more to you, teachers, than to anyone else. We started, now it's very, very much in your hands, and you are the actors of this machine. You're really like the main players. And it's important that, you know, we manage to create this ownership, to really manage to found this platform, which is so dynamic, and for us it's really one privileged way to reach so many teachers and directly millions and millions of people. And eTwinning has been a success of the last 13 years. I think the best evidence is almost like the exponential growth of this platform. And I was very, very pleased to see last week that we reached a symbolic figure of 500,000 teachers that, you know, are part of this community. So first of all, on behalf of the Commissioner, really congratulations. It's really impressive. The second reason why we think that eTwinning is so special and so important, because it's very much at the core of all the political priorities of the Commission and the Commissioner right now. Let me briefly elaborate on that. Some were already touched upon in the introduction, but what is the landscape we have in front of us now in Europe? Well, now Europe is recovering from an economical crisis, a very heavy one, that lasted almost 10 years. Things are getting better. We have consolidated growth. We have much more employment than before. Certainly. But we shouldn't forget that now, in the post-crisis scenario, is also time to heal our wounds, especially the social and political ones that we have very, very much on the table now. Post-crisis scenario means for us the very, very first place, and this has been the year, you know, like the privileged theme during the whole year, to do more on social cohesion. Today, 10 years after the crisis, after the beginning of the crisis, let's face it, Europe is less equal than it was before. The values of the European values that we all share and all are also declining, you know, into your national and regional identities. I mean, are we transmitting them at school properly? Are we giving equal chances to everyone in the European Union? Well, probably much less than before. Citizenship, the promotion of values, inclusive education, those are really like the very, very first priorities. And if we don't manage to, you know, turn back education to what it was supposed to be and never ceased to be, this social elevator, this integration machine, then we are all going to fail. The most dramatic symptom of this situation, one among many others, but one that we also wish to stress because it's especially dramatic, is probably here in Europe, but also elsewhere, and also in many other countries that are present here today, is the terrorist radicalization, violent radicalization. This is a very, very complex phenomenon. There are no simple solutions and there are no simple answers to it. But still, when we see pupils that spend thousands of hours in our classrooms, in our benches, in front of our teachers, and that can be radicalized within weeks, within months, and turn against their own communities, to commit the most atrocious acts. I'm not sure it's only a matter of education, but I'm very much convinced that education is also part of the solution to this problem. What else do we see, you know, from our bird's eye view from the European Commission? We also see that there is a huge problem of basic skills. We are still recovering from the very, very dramatic PISA results that were published in December. I agree, PISA is not the photography of an education system, but it gives a very, very clear hint on the capacity of our youngsters to read, write, and have some numeracy and scientific skills. The results, the previous ones were not very encouraging, but the problem is that the ones published 6 months ago, a bit more, 8 months ago, are even worse. The tendency is getting worse. And how can we build successful and excellent education systems on structure, fragile basis? How can we speak about digital skills, about entrepreneurship, about soft skills? How can we speak about excellence, about innovation, if roughly 1 in 5 European students, pupils, is not able to read and write properly? So again, that must become also the top priority, to make sure that we go back to basics, and that we have indeed, that we give fair chances to everyone, no matter what the background is, by giving them the basic skills they need to do basically anything else. And so again, that's another priority, and another thing that we see very, very clearly in our radar. The third one, and something that is very, very dear also to this community of eTwinners, I saw it in many of your projects, are also the cohesion among us Europeans. I mean, those European values, and not only within our society, but also among our own member states, and even beyond, among the 37 states that are here represented today. Do we know each other well enough? After 13 years, why do we still call some member states the new member states? Don't you have the impression that we have an East-West divide, a North-South divide, a central and peripheral divide within our own community? Can we find maybe a solution to make sure that the youngsters from an early age know each other a bit better, or much better, so that we also create this very much needed sense of European ownership and sense of belonging also at European level? Another problem that is also in the core of this conference is, of course, the digital competence. It's in everyone's minds, all the ministries, our big enterprises ask us, please help us foment this digital culture and to make sure that we have digitally competent, but also digitally confident young generations. And this is all the more important because we are sometimes living on some myths when it comes to digital competence. We tend to call a bit too quickly digital natives, proficient. And we tend maybe to believe that what we have to do is really to focus on the older generations. Well, this is not the case. Whenever we meet serious NGOs, big enterprises, school leaders, trade unions, everyone tells the same story. Our youngsters today are not prepared enough. And it's not because you are a digital native that you are digitally competent. And yes, it might be a bit paradoxical that you can spend hours in front of the screen and not being able to write a letter the way the generation of my parents did. So again, digital competence is something that we cannot train, we cannot afford to lose, and it's one definitely that we still have to catch up. And the last one, of course, something that is as really incredibly important in the agenda of every commissioner for education and minister as well, is of course you, teachers. Everything I mentioned before, if we don't start with you, it's going to lead us nowhere. What do teachers need today? Our impression is that in some countries certainly we need to make the profession more attractive. True, financially attractive, most probably. But it's not only that. We will fail, to see the whole problem if we don't go beyond that. Let's speak about also the recognition you deserve, the prestige you had much more before than now. And every time we talk to you, this is one of the first things that come in our discussions. This prestige, this social prestige, this acknowledgement of the absolutely crucial job you're doing. More autonomy, better working conditions. And the reason why I'm mentioning all these points is precisely to show you that indeed eTwinning is at the very core of all these political priorities. We have a recent report saying that indeed how useful eTwinning is for teachers. This project-based approach, how useful it is for the students as well to improve their soft skills, to improve their digital skills, their linguistic skills, all those key competences that were already mentioned. They are indeed, according to the European Commission, the ones that everyone should have in order to build on the rest. But this is a solid foundation that is, if I may say, not negotiable, and that everyone, no matter their background, and the origin you should definitely have. If education system doesn't provide those, then we fail, as we said. And eTwinning, again, is at the core of everything. What about the social inclusion? What about the intercultural dialogue? It's very, very, very much needed here within Europe, but also beyond. eTwinning is the DNA of eTwinning is precisely to do that. So you see, that's why from the very beginning we identified your tool, your community, as probably the best network of ambassadors that we can have also at the European Union, and the best echoing chamber, while having you always piloting this wonderful. On that basis, let me give you some hints, and let me tell you how do we see the eTwinning of the future. The first priority probably is to make sure that eTwinning grows. eTwinning now is 500,000 teachers. It's an excellent result. From the very beginning, eTwinning has been a success story. But why? Why couldn't we see like much beyond that? Why couldn't we be more ambitious? Why shouldn't we see eTwinning as a brand as well known as Erasmus, for example? Erasmus became almost a word in our dictionaries. Everybody's aware of it. Why not eTwinning? If now we are reaching roughly 7 or 8% of the teachers in Europe and beyond, why not more? Every time I speak about eTwinning with my African colleagues, my American colleagues, my Asian colleagues, they're all extremely impressed. This is one of the best, communities we ever created, and one that is called to grow and grow and grow. And definitely not die of success, but to be multiplied out of its success. We would like also eTwinning to go a bit beyond the European borders. It's already very much the case. We have the eTwinning Plus community. But there's also room of maneuver to go even beyond. We are extremely happy, for example, with the role Tunisia is playing in this community, with more than 170 schools already present in their territory. They're doing a really amazing job. But if eTwinning is precisely this machine of the intercultural dialogue, why couldn't we spread it to Lebanon, to Jordan, to all our South Mediterranean neighbors? While we're working on it, we hope to have very, very soon signature and to start eTwinning with Jordan and Lebanon. Please keep it in mind. Please be the first one that are going to engage in some exchanges with them. I mean, hold their hands. They're just starting in this community that for you is already very, very well known. It will be absolutely wonderful to have our colleagues in Jordan and Lebanon being a fully fledged, colleagues of this community. And so we are working on it. We also hope to soon welcome Kosovo, for example, that is not yet in this community, to consolidate our links with Bosnia, and to go again beyond. And one day, maybe, once we are consolidated, I think there are other countries that are waiting to be invited as well, far beyond, but countries that are facing the same problems of social inclusion, the same problems of intercultural dialogue, the same problems sometimes of radicalization. We have a tool, let's use it. And again, this message is mostly aimed at yourselves. You are the main actors. Please keep it in mind. We also imagine an eTwinning that is more recognized, more acknowledged, especially by the national ministries. An eTwinning that is not only living on the free time of these teachers, but they can slowly become part of their long life learning, of their official training. Because at the end, eTwinning is a machine that helps the teachers as much as it helps students. And we wonder if it doesn't deserve maybe more recognition so that we can consolidate those efforts and make the most out of it. We also see an eTwinning that is more and more mixed with blended mobility, with the real mobility, with our dear Erasmus, for example. I mean, it will be physical mobility for everyone. It's something that is going to be difficult to achieve. We know it's a matter of budget at the end. But to blend it with virtual and physical mobility is definitely something that can multiply the firepower of these two tools together. So again, this is something that we are definitely considering. And then we also see an eTwinning that keeps dynamism, that is is still in the hands of its main actors, of yourselves, the ones that are giving them this dynamism and this life. And that covers everything, absolutely everything, but maybe with two topics that could maybe become permanent strands of your work. There are two topics that, from a political point of view, are of special importance. I already mentioned them to you. One is the one you have been working on for 1 year, and you know more, actually, than we do, how important this is on the ground. Citizenship and inclusive education, basically those objectives that the Commissioner drafted in this Paris Declaration of 2015, which is the declaration that was co-signed by all the ministers of education of the European Union 7 weeks after the Charlie Hebdo and the Cachet attacks. So we could perfectly imagine and envisage an eTwinning that has those two topics of citizenship and the second one being digital skills as recurrent, permanent one. So basically the year that we just spent, why wouldn't we make something permanent out of it? Let me please, since we're also celebrating a bit of diversity here, to finish in French. For those who need to put the headphones. Chers participants, la beauté de cette entreprise, finalement, c'est que eTwinning, c'est déjà 13 ans d'histoire derrière lui. Eh bien, si on regarde ça sur l'échelle du long terme, eh bien, il n'en est qu'à ses débuts, finalement. Et il a un avenir absolument brillant devant lui. Alors, le dernier message que je voulais vous passer, justement, c'est que vous pouvez en être extrêmement fiers. Ici, à la Commission européenne, nous en sommes extrêmement fiers. C'est la Commission qui est derrière cette machine. C'est nous qui l'avons créée il y a déjà 13 ans. C'est une machine à intégrer, c'est une machine à ouvrir des portes, c'est une machine à donner le goût de l'éducation. C'est une machine, justement, à ouvrir de nouveaux horizons à des jeunes enfants qui souvent n'en ont pas. Eh bien, vous êtes les ambassadeurs de cette machine, vous êtes les ambassadeurs de cette philosophie qui, plus que jamais, a besoin d'être défendue. Et vous êtes aussi les ambassadeurs, quelque part, de cette Union européenne qui, parfois, on nous dit, mais où est-elle? Elle ne fait rien de concret. Dites-moi qu'elle ne fait rien de concret, quand, grâce à elle, il y a peut-être, je ne sais pas combien de millions de jeunes enfants, d'écoliers, qui ont pu se rencontrer, qui ont eu leur première expérience avec les nouvelles technologies, et qui ont amélioré leur anglais, qui ont amélioré leur français, qui ont amélioré leurs compétences sociales, et qui justement ont pris ce goût au dialogue interculturel, et qui encore de manière beaucoup plus importante, eh bien, ce sont des étudiants qui ont été quelque part vaccinés contre le virus de l'intolérance. En faisant 3, 4, 5 expériences eTwinning, comment est-ce possible que 5 ans plus tard, on puisse vous manipuler en 6 mois? Eh bien, j'en doute. Et donc, soyez extrêmement fiers de votre rôle, de ce projet, et soyez vraiment sûrs que la Commission est derrière vous. Avant de terminer, je voulais également remercier très chaleureusement, au nom du commissaire, les personnes qui sont derrière, dans la salle des machines, pour ainsi dire. Nos collègues de la DG Éducation et Culture à la Commission européenne, merci pour ce travail formidable. Également les collègues de l'agence exécutive, leurs frères ou leurs sœurs jumeaux, si vous voulez, jumelles, et également nos collègues Aline Schounetz, Marc et toute son équipe, qui font également un travail formidable et qui accompagnent eTwinning depuis de nombreuses années. Et encore une fois, nous sommes extrêmement heureux d'être ici, extrêmement fiers du travail que vous faites, extrêmement fiers également du travail que nous avons fait en vous permettant justement d'avoir créé cette machine, qui est une machine que beaucoup de personnes nous envient sur Terre. Et bien, encore une fois, permettez-moi de vous rappeler que vous devez en être très fiers. Nous en sommes en tout cas, et on peut vous garantir le soutien indéfectible de la Commission européenne pour permettre à cette machine de grandir et de grandir et de grandir encore plus. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alistair, for the encouragement you give us all. It's a very interesting view you've painted of the thoughts for the future of eTwinning. They are certainly extremely interesting. And also, thank you for saying that you feel that eTwinning has a brilliant future ahead of it. I hope everybody in this room would also feel and hope that we do have a brilliant future in eTwinning together. And thank you for your warm words of thanks. But now we move on, I would like to, we are, many of you, in Malta for the first time. So I am going to now call on Emmanuel Zamet from the Maltese Ministry of Education. He's Director of Media Literacy there. And he is going to welcome us to this beautiful island as our host.
Merhaba bikum. Welcome. I'm not going to talk in Maltese. Welcome. Merhaba bikum. I would like to, first of all, apologize. The minister should have been here, but he was caught up in a very important meeting. Some challenges going on at the moment, and he apologized for not coming over here. I will not be taking his place and putting up some kind of speech. No way, I'm not that kind of person to do it at a very, very last moment, although some of my friends said that I had no choice but to be here. So the minister has put me in a very, very tight spot. I would like to, first of all, say just one small comment, apart from welcoming the familiar faces that I have met in the previous years. And I would like to welcome all of you who are here for the first time in Malta. I hope that this smallest member state with a very big heart welcomes all of you. And just one tiny comment from my side. I believe that eTwinning has the power to transform education. And that power is in your hands as a teacher. I also believe, and this is my last comment over here, that eTwinning puts the teacher away from the center, but keeps him or her in a very central position. We have a very central position as teachers, as educators, to educate our young citizens. Again, merhaba bikum, and I hope you have a very good day and today and tomorrow in Malta. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Zamet, for your warm welcome to Malta. I hadn't thought of it being, one of the smallest countries in Europe, welcoming us all to, but of course you're right, it is, and thank you for so kindly agreeing to be the host for the conference this year. eTwinning is successful, like Mr. Bannister has outlined for us how successful eTwinning has been. But he also mentioned that part of its success are the people behind the scenes, people who support it and keep it going. And I'm of course talking about the eTwinning national support services and partner support agencies for eTwinning and eTwinning Plus. Now, every year we ask them to greet us, to greet the conference, and this year we set them a slightly different challenge as to how they would present their greetings, and you're going to watch it now. You have the eTwinning feeling? Yes? Okay, I think thank you to all our National Support Service and partner support agencies for being such good sports and sending us these great videos. Thank you very much. But now I suppose we turn to the more serious theme of our conference, the theme of inclusion and all that it embodies. We have today, as our keynote speaker, a very committed actor in the field of inclusion, Mark Penfold, lead teacher for ethnic minority achievement in Babington Academy in Leicester in the UK. Mark has worked in this field for over 10 years, and he's particularly known for his work with the Roma community. Today he's going to introduce us to the meaning, philosophy and practice of inclusion in a digital age. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Penfold.
Is the sound working? Can everybody hear? Put your hand up if you can't hear. That's inclusive. Right. Hello, it's very nice to be here. It's actually a great honour. I'm a bit confused at the moment because I'm feeling very angry that I wasn't included in the UK part of the film you've just seen. You're hurt, left out and excluded. Anyway, one thing you need to notice straight away is I'm not carrying a hidden magic wand. I'm going to talk for 45 minutes, but I don't have all the answers. I have ideas, I have suggestions, and what would make me very happy is at the end of my 45 minutes if you had some new, fresh ideas or inspiration to take away. Right, I apologise for this. I'm going to have to read this so that people can interpret. Normally I don't put words up on the screen and read them. What I want you to tell me is who said these things and when they were said. So we are all citizens of one world. We are all of one blood. To hate people because they were born in another country, because they speak another language, or because they take a different view on this subject or that is a great folly. Desist, I implore you, for we are all equally human. The second quote, let the main object be to seek a method of instruction by which teachers may teach less, but learners learn more. Does anybody recognise those quotes? Am I at an EU event? Have I just not heard the word Erasmus said several times? They were said by Jan Amos Komensky 350 years ago. You might know him better as Comenius. He seemed to have a better grasp on inclusion 350 years ago than some prime ministers and presidents today. Are there any prime ministers and presidents here? Good, I haven't caused any offence then. So what gives me the right to stand in front of you? Some of you are fantastic practitioners who are fighting the battle for inclusion already. What gives me the right to stand in front of you and talk to you about it? Let me share the profile of the school where I work. So this is a profile of Babington Academy in Leicester. You can see we have 1,116 students. They are aged 11 to 16. I'm aware that in different countries represented in this room you'll have different education systems. Over half of those children do not speak English as a first language. And in fact, 16 of them, the last place they were living before they came to Babington was the jungle in Calais. If they get into a lorry and then get off between junction 14 and 28 of the M1, they come to Babington. So if you've got national ministers that are moaning about having to take Syrian migrants into your schools, send them to me. We have Syrian refugees, both official and unofficial, in our school. As you can see, I understood there were 37 countries represented in this room today. In my school, we currently have children from 38 different countries of origin. and between them they speak 41 different first languages. Every time a child comes from a country we've not had before, we put the flag of that country right by the door in which the children come in the morning. The first thing they see when they come in is the flag of their country. We have 98. It's taken 14 years to get 98. But in addition to that, we have 45 children with severe speech, learning, communication difficulties. That's more than a mild stammer. There's children that, for various reasons, have serious difficulty communicating. We have 29 children with moderate learning difficulties. We have children on autistic spectrum. Don't tell me autistic children can't go to mainstream school. 5 years ago, the child that left with the best examination results in the whole school was Asperger's. We have children with cerebral palsy, we have children who can't see very well, we have children who can't hear very well. In many countries represented in front of me, those children will not go to mainstream school, but we believe passionately that not only is their right to attend mainstream school, it's our duty to make it happen. Okay, I'm very proud of my school, and the first thing I need to make clear is I'm standing here representing my school, but I'm also representing a fantastic set of teachers who get up every morning and go to work to make inclusion work. I would tell you it's the best school in the world, but I have to do something better than that to convince you. So the reason we've been designated by the UK government as a Centre of Excellence for Inclusion, because independent objective data shows that the children from the groups I've just explained to you about achieve better for Babington than they do in other schools in the UK. Now, let's have a look at inclusion. So I'm just going to take a pause. I need 3 beautiful assistants. Do I have 3 beautiful assistants? I have 1, very brave.
Yeah.
One gentleman coming from the back. That's good, because I've got a lady and I've got a gentleman. I'm being inclusive. I have 2 beautiful assistants. I'm missing a 3rd. The 3rd is on the way. I'm really sorry. Can you come and join me on the stage? Right. I want you to do something very simple. There's a 15 centimetre ruler. It's a 15 centimetre ruler. Guess what you've got? 15 centimetres. I need you to tell me what size that paper is. I need the dimensions of the paper. What could be simpler? The finest pedagogical minds from all over Europe assembled in one place. All I need these fine minds to do is to give me a number. What could possibly go wrong? It's taking their time. I've got kids in bottom sets that would be quicker than that. 270. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if you'd given me the right-wrong answer, but that's not even the right-wrong answer. It's a wrong answer. Could I have a better answer, please? 278. They always do that. They go 270, then you say, no, it's wrong. So they go a little bit higher. And I'm going to say 278 is wrong. So watch what they do next. Any advance on 270, 278? Anybody going lower? 275.5. That's an incredibly precise wrong answer. Right, I'm going to put my own mystery. Go, sir. Right, come on. This is the total opposite of what normally happens in the classroom, because 279. Well, you got it just as wrong as the ladies, but at least normally in the classroom, the boys will give the wrong answer before the girls give the wrong answer. Could I ask you to sit down? Thank you very much, and I will explain to the audience. You did it wrong. Yes. You didn't do it wrong. Right. But what you failed to do is look at the ruler carefully. These rulers were made for me by Roman pupils in my school in a DT project. They are 10% inaccurate. They have been stretched 10%. So every measurement you take of that is wrong. Every decision you base on that wrong measurement makes you go wrong even further. And people can come and check the rules to see if I've been fabricating. So that's the point. And the point, going back to what is inclusion. I'm going to be very provocative. I'm very polite to suggest that many people in this room have a position, a view, an understanding of inclusion that could perhaps benefit from being adjusted. If inclusion was a person or a word, it would look like that person. Why? Because it is so often misused, misrepresented, it's broken, it's twisted. I almost think we need a new word. I'll give you a perfect example. I visited a school, I won't name the country because I bet people from that country are here. With the country in June. I was taken into a room, and on the door, it said in the language of that country, the facilities in this room were paid for by the European Union Fund for Social Inclusion. So I went in and saw a chemistry lesson with 15-year-olds. 20 children in the room. 17 round the outside of the room, lighting Bunsen burners, dropping different coloured bits of things into a test tube and watching what happened. That was a chemistry lesson. 3 kids in the middle of the room making cakes. And I said, why are those kids making cakes and those kids using test tubes? And they said, well, the 3 girls in the middle are Roma, and they are too stupid to do chemistry. So I said, okay, why are they in the same room as the chemistry students? Because that's inclusion. So there's a definition of inclusion that works for them, it doesn't work for me. Inclusion for them was giving access to the room. And very often I find people presenting schools as inclusive when all they've done is they've allowed access to the building. So let's have a look at a model. Okay, it's a nice little model that visually demonstrates the difference between exclusion, segregation, integration and inclusion. But let's have, the segregation model. We've got these migrant children and they don't speak the language of instruction in our country, so we can't put them in the same classroom, but we've got to educate them. So let's find a room at the far end of the school where nobody can hear you scream, and let's teach them the language of our country until they're ready to go in class. In Badminton 4 years ago, I had 229 children arrive direct from overseas during the course of the school year. Every one of those was in mainstream timetable in 4 days. Right, now that's what I think of that model. So, okay, those little minority dots, they're in the building, they're mingling with the majority children. But there is the potential there for them still to be isolated. Just putting them in with the other children doesn't guarantee inclusion. What does guarantee inclusion is the experience that the individual children have once you've given them access. Okay, so I'm going to read this again. This is one of my favourite definitions of inclusion. Inclusion involves change. That's the first thing. It's an unending process of increasing learning and participation for all students. There's your crucial word, all. Not just people we want to include, not just people that we find sweet or cuddly, everybody. It's an idea to which schools can aspire, which is never fully reached. So go out there and try and be inclusive, but I'm telling you, you're never going to be fully inclusive, because you always can go a bit further. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Inclusion happens as soon as the process of increasing participation starts. An inclusive school is one that's on the move. So let's take an example. Again, I won't mention the country because they're probably here. Talking to a school 4 years ago, child in a wheelchair. I can't possibly take the child, it was tenfold. We haven't got a lift, can't do this, can't do that. Okay, found the child at school, the parents were prepared to drive 35 kilometres to the school that would take this child. They hadn't got a lift, but what happened is they had somebody who was prepared to carry the child separately from his wheelchair up to the second floor, up to the 3rd floor. and then go back and fetch the wheelchair. That's great, that's brilliant. You take the child with a wheelchair into the school. Does that child do PE? Babington, he would do PE. He might not be able to take the penalty to win the little game at the end of the lesson, but he can put his wheelchair by the side of the pitch, he can keep score, he can do directions, he can be the referee, he can be involved and he can participate in the best way that he can. So, inclusion is understanding your school community. It's about the needs of the whole community, because you don't just bring children into your school, do you? When those children come in, you might not see it, they've got a bubble around them. That bubble is the influence of their family, the influence of the community they live in, the influence of the town they live in, the experience and the baggage they bring with them. You need to see that to understand them. You value everyone. Absolutely everyone. You don't say, I hate that child, he always argues with me. I hate having that autistic kid in my class because he always makes funny noises. You value them. Celebrating diversity and individuality, valuing other cultures. Just because somebody comes from a different culture, they're not going to ruin your school, they're going to add to it, they're going to enrich it. And inclusion is fitting the child around the school. So what do I mean by that? Right, I want you to not see a child's toy, I want you to see the boxes of school, or the different shapes to be seen as pupils with different needs. Now, I can take this pupil, and I can say, there's the way into my school, in you go. It's not quite fitting, so I could get a hammer, and I go, hey, you've gone in, you're included. Sorry I broke you, sorry I broke the school getting you in, but you're in. Or I could just very simply find a different way of letting the children access what I am providing. The school fits around the child, not expecting the child to fit the school. That is where so many people go wrong with inclusion. Another way, if you want, is the child's at the centre of everything. The class the child is in. The school the child is in. The town or the community the child comes from. The wider country, the wider community around the child. And eventually the whole world. Different layers, and the child needs to feel included layer by layer. I'll tidy those up later. Right, inclusion is not, because I'm telling you what inclusion is. Well, let's have a look. How many people disagree with that? How many people are going, he's mad, he's bonkers? I bet you are. I bet the tweets are coming in, he's wrong. Right, let me explain. That's my garden. I sat in there when I was thinking about this presentation. I didn't know how beautiful Malta was then, by the way. Right. By coincidence, my front garden is about the size of the average classroom. In my garden, I have a lemon tree and I have a fig tree. That's hard work in Britain, I can tell you. But I want the same from both those plants. I want as many lemons and as many figs as possible. If I treat them the same, that won't happen. The lemon tree, to get lemons, got any gardens here, I need to prune the ends of the branches. That makes little branches come on the side, that's where the flowers are, that's where the lemons come. If I do the same to the fig tree, I get no figs. Figs are what we call tip bearers. They bear their fruit on the very ends of the branches. If I prune the branches like I did with the lemon tree, I get no fruit. So by treating the two plants the same, I get success with one and failure with the other. And I'll tell you my personal experience of having been in classrooms in many of the countries represented here. People don't understand that. They want to prune everybody or not prune everybody. Same garden, plants that need wet ground, plants that need dry ground. in the same space as the classroom. So let's start, if I swap those plants over, they will all die. If I give them different right conditions, they all flourish. So let's stop thinking plants now, and gardens, let's think of a school, a classroom, children with different needs that have to be met. Does anybody recognise that? Oh, Claire, you said yes, it's your website.
I do, of course.
It's from the eTwinning website. So I'll read it again for the benefit of the interpreters. The egg dropping challenge. Do you know, it's great, it's fun. You must do it. You must, if your school has not done Claire's egg dropping challenge, you must go out and do it. But having said that, I know it's fun because I did it when I was a kid. You invite the students to create a unique contraption around an egg. You can't hard-boil the egg, you can't cheat, it's an egg. And you prevent it from breaking when it is dropped. You film it and post it on Facebook or Twitter with a hashtag, there you go. These activities focus on teamwork, innovation and collaboration. And probably create thinking skills. They do, if you do it right. But here's another thing. Doing that activity on its own won't promote anything. It's the skills the teachers bring to presenting and developing that activity that make teamwork, inclusion, and thinking skills happen. So first question is, are you going to choose the teams? What will happen if you let the kids choose their own teams? They'll sit with their friends, won't they? Who are their friends? People like themselves. We choose people to be friends who are like us. So you're going to be sitting in a group of people who think the same way as you. Is that going to expand your range of thinking skills? What's going to happen if you tell them who they're going to be in the team with? They're not going to like the little one there. It's like me when you call in school and we have PE lessons and you have to choose the team. So I always got people asked to put in goal. So you need to set up a system whereby the teams are going to function properly. And the best way to do that is to choose children with different levels of ability, different aptitudes, different personalities, and give them a role within the team. Make one the chair, one the secretary, make one responsible for equipment, give them a role. Then they have to participate. Are you going to give them the materials? Because let's face it, go home and find something and bring it into school that's going to help stop the egg breaking. Okay, Mum's got a fantastic cushion on the settee. I'll cut it up and take the stuff outside because it's really soft and complete and that'll stop the egg from breaking. That's not. But if you just bring materials into school, that's all they're going to use. You are then taking away some of the opportunity for creativity and selecting themselves. And even if they select the wrong materials and get it wrong, that is part of the learning process. So people forget that. The heart defibrillator, the post-it notes, stainless steel, all have one thing in common. Penicillin joins that group. They were invented by mistake. Okay? People got something wrong and it led to something good. So we want the children, we want the children to get dropped, to get the wrong answer. Too many times I go to schools, but having the wrong answer is a sign of failure, it's a sign of loss of faith. So you need to think about these things. Right, you tell me you want to promote thinking skills, part of inclusion. What are thinking skills? I always start with Bloom's taxonomy. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. You go through the levels. Too often it stops there. If you're really lucky, it stops there. So let's have a look at what I mean by that. If I was doing the egg drop, would give the brief in advance of the activity. So we're going to do the actual egg drop next Wednesday, but this Wednesday we're going to get the team sorted out. We're going to have a preliminary discussion. We're going to let the group choose their best ideas. They all put ideas in, but you can't have 25 ideas, so you're going to narrow it down. The group decides what materials are needed and where they can be obtained. They're going to decide who's going to bring what next Wednesday. They're then going to write a report saying what they've chosen to make and why, and particularly what they expect to happen. Now, they've already showing some knowledge, understanding we need, if they're saying things like we need something soft, get around it, they're already understanding they've got to protect the eggshell from the impact when they drop it. Application, okay, we've got to wrap it around with a stick of the tape and working out how to do it. Analysis, that's going to come next week. So you then come to the next one, so you have the egg drop activity. And I think it's a good idea to have several eggs, because if it goes wrong, you can't disqualify them, they can't carry on, so have some spare eggs. They write a report comparing what they predicted would happen and what actually happened, and then saying what they will do differently next time. And Mr. Bannister just said, and I hear this in my country too, industry complaining that children come without the basic skills and aptitudes needed. Well, if you've done it the way I suggested, they've gone all the way through those steps on the thinking skills. Let's have a look at how that works in a lesson. So, very often when people do demonstrations, they choose maths, don't they, or the language of instruction, or science. They're the important subjects. No, they're not. All subjects are important, because every single subject you do contributes to your development as a person. So we're going to look at an art lesson. In this art lesson, we're going to understand the importance of analysing artwork carefully, and we're going to develop your page layout skills when looking at artists' work. So, that was the picture. The artist very kindly came into school and talked to each other about his work and discussed it. So I could actually spend all the time telling you what the picture symbolises. Okay, look at the picture, then tell me about it. Some children will do very well, some children won't. They will need guidance and support. So, the bottom are blues, remember. So remember what the picture's like. Describe what you can see in the artist's artwork. Well, there was a bird and there was a bit stripping down off it. But we could see the beak and we could see the claws carefully. Understanding. Because I could tell you the Battle of Waterloo was fought in 1815. Sorry, French people. But what does that tell you? I know that the Battle of Waterloo was fought in 1815. That could be Googled in 5 seconds. I could show I understand a bit more by saying the Battle of Waterloo was fought in 1815 and the English had a very narrow victory because the Prussians turned up at the end of the day when the battle was very finely balanced. Then we say, that's understanding, and then we apply it. Did the fact that Britain won the Battle of Waterloo lead to the rise of Germany? Because Prussia came in on the victory. We eventually had a unified Germany. Discuss. Right. What might the images or colours? Okay, so you're applying. What does use of materials in the artwork tell you, the viewer, about the artist and their style? What is the relationship between the subject and the artwork and the viewer? So you're analysing it now, you're going up another level, but you're supporting the children, because if they've done the first 3 steps thoroughly, they're going to be more equipped to do this step. Synthesis, you're putting it all together. Who's French? Thèse, antithèse, synthèse. We know all about that, don't we? And finally, evaluating. What is your opinion of this work? Is there anything you would change? Now, children who've gone through that step are much more likely to go away to the next lesson and produce a piece of artwork which has developed their skills, which has taken them forward, than if you just look at a white picture and then try and do something similar. Now then. Right. Can't get more up to date than that, can you? 2017. Right. Have we got teachers on this table? Yeah, teachers. There we go. Right. You're a table which is more important than teachers. Yes. Have we got people who are sitting there thinking, oh, it doesn't come to our table? Yes. Right. Are you sniggering because I'm an upstairs table and not yours? Yes. Okay, are you hoping very, very sincerely that I'm not going to embarrass you? So, 2017, digitally, so what I put on those tables is 16 matchsticks. If you look very carefully at the digital 2017, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To make the 2, I would need 5 matchsticks. What I want you all to do, whether you've got matches or not, I'm just giving some tables an advantage because they might need it. Differentiated learning. I need you to tell me when the next year will be when you only need 16 matchsticks to make it digital. And I want you to tell me when the last year was that you would only need 16 matches. I will say that again very slowly, because I'm only talking to the finest pedagogical minds gathered from all corners of the place. Each of the numbers there could be made with matchsticks. Okay. To make the number 2, for example, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matchsticks. But to make the number 6, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To make the number 1, you need 2. To make the number 7, you need 3. Right. 5 plus 6 is 11. Plus 2 is 13. Plus 3 is 16. 16 matchsticks. Year 2018, you can't do it with 16 matchsticks, you need more. Okay. I need to know when the next year will be that you can use 16 matches. And I'll tell you, give you a little clue, I'll be dead by then. When was the last one? I'll give you another clue, I was alive, but that doesn't help you, that goes back a long way. So, in your tables, stop looking at me, stop looking at the screen, talk to each other. Decide how you're going to do this task. Well, you're eTwinners. You're experts at collaboration, critical thinking skills, problem solving.
Possibly. I know the solution, so.
Oh yeah, more wrong answers. It's raining wrong answers today.
I cannot help.
Oh, right. It doesn't look like 2019.
But it can't be 2, 0 on anything. Just 2's got 5, 0 has got 6. That's 11. And then how am I going to do this? You know, share the film with this with your kids. It's €5 per person for me not to share the film with your kids. Do we have any answers? You make the number 207. Do I have any answers? Right, I really hate to tell you, teachers, but non-teachers have got one of the answers first. Is she a maths teacher? I disqualified her. Oh, 27. Well, yes, that is correct. This will be right. Okay. I have to tell you, the European Commission actually got there first. But the joy is the Ministry of Education unites. They have people to do it for them all the time, don't they? Yes. What's last year? Most people got the next year. Last year could happen. Oh, 1971 is a year. I think 1990.
I know, but I think actually 2071 is a good
Oh, sorry,
answer.
yes. Okay, we're going to stop because the first table with both correct answers has appeared. It's there, so we'll stop. Okay, I expect people want to just finish that and talk about it as we go through, but shall we come together as a group, please? So let's take that through in a process of thinking skills. I like to tell you, I'm a modern language teacher, I am not a maths teacher. So what information did you need to complete the task? That's the first way I'm going to wrap. I'd ask my students, what information do you need? And what shortcuts can you take? So first of all, I would need to know how many matchsticks each number takes. Okay? That's the first piece of information I would have done. Did any tables do that? So there's 16 or 2. Did anybody do that? Yes, one table's being honest enough to own up. You could be there for a long time, potentially. So we don't want the children to do that. Yes, it will work. Yes, eventually you will get there. But we want children to work smarter and quicker, don't we? So I got to 2, as soon as it was 200, that's 17. It doesn't matter whether it's 200, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that none of those will be the right answers, so I stopped working through those. I eliminate them from my search. 1990, it's 14. I need 2. What number gives me 2? 1. So the answer is 1991. So going forward, again, I can do it by the same process of elimination. So as soon as I get to 216, it's going to, the answer is going to be more than 16. Forget going through the 2020s. Same with 2030s, so so on. Actually, I mean, I haven't cheated. I found the question on the website, but it's not publishing the answers till next week. So I had to do it myself. Do you know, I don't understand arrogant. Do you know how long it took me to come up with 2071? About 90 seconds. Right? So I teach critical thinking skills, so I applied my own teaching to that. Now, it's unreasonable. If we gave that task to 13-year-olds and they solved it straight away, they wouldn't need teachers. Right? We've got 13-year-olds who can't do that, but we want them to become 15-year-olds that can do it in their sleep. And we have got to support them with our teaching. So again, it's like everything else with the egg drop, everything else. It's not the activity that makes collaboration, that makes teamwork, that promotes thinking skills. It's the way the teacher supports the learners through the activity that does that. Right. Modern technology is brilliant, isn't it? Who do we want teaching us, Jan Kamensky or a robot? Put your hands up if you want Jan back teaching you. We clean him up so he didn't smell. No? Hands up if you want the robot teaching you. Hands up if you haven't got your hands on. That should be everybody. Am I conducting a seance? Right. Most people, I think, will think it's awful at the thought that teachers could be replaced by robots. That's why. What do robots not have that teachers have? Feelings, somebody said, emotions, a heart. And that's bad, isn't it? The robot's got no emotions, got no feelings. So that is bad. No, it's not. Anybody read that? To Syrian with Love. Please read it. Read it. It's a story of a mother who had a severely autistic child. The child's autism made it very difficult for the child to operate in social circumstances. Such a social circumstance would be a classroom. It was a nightmare in the classroom. Couldn't stay in the classroom very long without instructing it. Have you, anybody here got those gadgets that you go, Alexa, make me a cup of tea. Alexa, do my shopping list for me. Alexa, how much cat food have I got left? Yeah? We've got one at home. Siri is the American version of Alexa. And this autistic boy formed a relationship with the Siri in the corner of the room. And it changed his behaviour, it changed his engagement with education, precisely because Siri had no emotions, no inflections in voice. Okay? So, and there's another fantastic book you must go away from this and read, and it's iGen. It only came out in August. Nobody here could possibly read it. Has anybody read it? Right. What iGen does is looks at the change in social statistics in the United States as iPhone sales have gone up. So the graph will go like that, iPhone sales. More and more teenagers have them. This line, severe decline, is teenage pregnancies in the United States. As more and more teenagers have iPhones, less and less of them have accidental pregnancies. Now we might think it's good that there are less teenage pregnancies. But what's it tell you? It tells you that teenage girls are staying at home with their iPhone on weekends and not dating. Because you've got to stay at home, you've got to be on your iPhone, because you might be missing out on all the social gossip and stuff that's going on. It's a fascinating read, because the data is not got by the author. The data is obtained from official government sources. The data is obtained for different purposes. But if you look at the growth of iPhones, you will see that there's a decline in social skills. So yes, Minister, please ask us to improve the digital competency of our children, but not at the expense of their social competency. Right, some ideas for you eTwinners. 12 years ago, I did an international sports day with the Czech Republic, Spain, Latvia, France. Sorry, how can I forget France? And my own school. And it would be very expensive if we take the children from 4 schools and take them to another school and make them run against each other. That would have cost a lot of money. But we just made the children run in their own playgrounds. Right, you do 100 metres, please. 14.3 seconds. Okay, so we set all the times and all the heights and all the distances in to one school, and we publish a league table. We have an international sports day. We have collaboration. We have use of technology. Kahoots. Does anybody use Kahoots? Yes, great. Well, why don't you have the same activity being done in your eTwinning parlours? 5 3 other schools, get a class to do the same activity, or just add a little spice to it. Why is Kahoot inclusive? What happens in a normal classroom? The teacher says, right, what is the square root of 256? Okay, 16. But what will probably happen is 4 boys will shout out straight away, 13, 14, 15, just guess it because they want to be first. Or the first kid might say 16. Then the second kid says it's 16. Well, how do you know if that second kid knew it was 16, or if they were just copying what the first person said? Whereas with Kahoot, everybody's answer comes through separately, and so the shy kid in the class usually gets shouted down. Their answer counts as much as everybody else's. So that's why Kahoot is such a good use, and plus the fact it stops them playing snakes on the mobile phone under the desk while you're teaching. So, I've tried to give some key messages. Technology is our slave, not our master. And if you think I'm being funny, go and read iGen. Activities of the technology are not in themselves inclusive. The teacher of the school is. It's the way you teach the activities, the way you lead the activities. That is what makes them inclusive. Okay, technology in itself does not promote teamwork. Technology has the capacity to make your teaching more powerful, to make learning more fun, provided you use it in the right way and you don't just say, putting this technology in front of the kids is going to do it for me. And then some more challenges for eTwinners. Okay, in my school, we have access to most modern technology short of the Hadron Collider. There are schools in Europe that don't, because I spend my school holidays teaching in the Middle East and Europe. They can't eTwin because they don't have the technology. So, eTwinners, I set a challenge. I would love to hear in 12 months' time that people have gone away from this conference and found schools where technology, lack of electricity, is seemingly a barrier to being an eTwinner, because I don't think it needs to be. I think there are ways round it. As I'll give you, while I was preparing my speech, there's just about 50 slides there, I'll tell you, 50 slides have not come out today. I found a charity in London now, because what they can do is they can put a web-based thing into a school where there is no internet connection. They can make all free online content available in offline classrooms. But they said they worked with a school in Africa, it was Kenya, and they provided very expensive computers. State of the art, with all the best software, they put them in the schools. They didn't train the teachers, and the electricity was intermittent. So when they went in to find out what difference those computers were making to the learning of the children, do you know what they found? They found a computer in every classroom. It was in front of the blackboard, so the shorter teachers that stand on it and reach the top of the blackboard with their chalk. Technology is not cancer always, unless it's used properly. Things are going to change. Mark, who's head Microsoft? Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg has promised that he will bring the internet to places that haven't got it. He is building huge gliders that work on solar panels, and they will bring the internet now to places where it doesn't reach. So Tunisia, there will be countries around you where that's coming in the next 2 or 3 years, and you could be ready to eTwin those people. The future is very bright, as Mr. Bannister said, but we have to make it happen. It won't happen by itself. So I want to thank you very much for being an attentive audience. I want to thank people that came out and did the measuring. I want to thank the people that played with the matchsticks. I want to thank the people that took the matchstick activity seriously. I don't expect anybody to have taken me seriously. Right, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Many thanks, Mr. Pendleton. Don't go away, because I think maybe we have some questions. Mark is very open to answering any questions you may have. We have 2 roving microphones. Does anybody have any questions for him? While you're thinking of the questions, you know,
If you
already used Kahoot to...
If you don't get to ask questions, I'll just talk them.
Any questions? Don't be shy. No? Okay. That means that you have given us such an inclusive and broad-ranging expose of the topic of inclusion and how to include.
I think
There is one question.
Okay, question.
We have a question. Good.
How do you manage a class who can't understand a word that you say?
If you go back through, can I have the slides back or not? All right. What did you notice about my slides? What did I use a lot of? Pictures, images, graphs, in technical jargon, pedagogical jargon, I use visual organisers. Okay, picture sometimes explains 1,000 words. Also, there's something called the language iceberg. So you've got a child, right, language is there. Okay? It's made up of 4 skills. Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Listening and reading are what we call passive skills, receptive skills. Speaking and writing are productive skills. Your passive skills develop much more quickly than your productive skills. So in other words, you can understand more of what I'm saying than you can say back to me to show it. So first of all, at Babington, we rely on that. Secondly, we present our information that we want the children to learn. We present it visually, and I have to say, in Babington, compared to a lot of schools I've been to inside the UK and inside other schools, what we call chunking down. We break the learning into much smaller pieces and go, but in logical steps. So you take the child through the steps. And the key teaching skill is to know where every child is at any particular point in the lesson. You don't wait to the end of the lesson to do a test and find a child who understood nothing for 50 minutes. This child's going to go out there and you never get those 50 minutes back. But if you check whatever way you want, after 2 minutes, when the last teaching point's gone in, if the child hasn't got it, you've got 2 minutes to reteach it. Yeah, so you're always checking as a teacher, all through the lesson, exactly which children have understood what. So there's several just key teaching techniques. Now, I'd say what I find in some places, the teacher will go, he doesn't speak English. Why is he in my classroom? Get out, come back and learn science with me when you learn English. No, he will learn the language you need for science much better by being in a science classroom where good users of the English and science are there, other children and the teacher, because you get it in context. Any other questions? Yes, miss.
If I understand it correctly, it's potentially harmful to the students if they're not put in a mainstream class immediately. Did I understand correctly?
Well, I'm talking from personal experience, Claire. I do not hold you responsible for the whole French education system. But when I was 17, I did a 1 month's exchange as a sixth former with a school in France. So we had to go to lessons. So I went to this history lesson. It was about Napoleon III. That's not Napoleon Bonaparte, it was his nephew. And he did horrible things in Italy, I think, in the 1860s. I just studied that in my school in England. And so I had a go at the essay. I stayed up all night and I was crossing out. We didn't have computers and we couldn't do spell check and things like that. I wrote this 3-page essay in French, Napoleon III in Italy. And I handed it to the teacher and he looked at me and went, give it back. He said, you're not French, so I can't mark you. And when I became, by accident, responsible for children in a school where more than half of them did not use English as their first language, I made myself a promise that no child would ever be made to feel like that on my watch.
I'm asking because the system we have in Malta at the moment is we have special hubs for migrant students. Some of the students we have who can speak English maybe because nobody speaks Maltese. So if they know a bit of English, they're put in these classes because they can follow lessons. However, those who don't speak either language are kind of segregated because they're in special classes. So
you're making me feel that I wish I had one of the slides I rejected. The slide has a picture of a former Babington student. His name is André Ola. He was born in a town called Sabinov, which is about 25 kilometers from the Ukraine border. He was born in a Roma ghetto. He went to school in Sabinov. At the age of 11, his father was brought into school and told that he has to go to special school. Okay? His father refused to send him to special school. His father emigrated to the United Kingdom. And I'm afraid a very large number of Roma families we have in England will have a similar story to tell you. He came to Babington at the age of 11 with no word of English. Absolutely none. He did not have the prior learning that you would expect an 11-year-old to have. Now, this year, I went round the back of the school and I cried. Because he he got the grades of top 4%. Sorry, I'm getting so emotional. But he will tell you in his own words, because we're using him now as a Roma ambassador. He's actually doing EU projects in other parts of the EU. And he was saying, when I went to school in Slovakia, I knew my white teachers did not like me because I was Roma. Therefore, I adjusted my behaviour. They didn't like me, I didn't like them. I wasn't going to learn from them, I wasn't going to behave from them because they didn't like me. When I went to Babington, teachers were different. And I changed my behaviour and I suddenly liked education. And he caught that up. He's got 3 grade A's, 1 in physics, which is the hardest part of the English baccalaureate to get. And he doesn't know whether he's going to be a pilot or he's going to university just at the goal. He could not have done that if he'd stayed in his country. So, and another statistic which probably actually tells against my school is that the children that don't use English as a first language actually do better in exams than the children. I teach in a very deprived area. The white and majority children that we have are from a very, very deprived area with low levels of literacy, low engagement in education. Our migrant children actually, if we have them for 5 years, overall achieve better.
Please don't get me wrong, it's not that we're segregating children, it's because in fact we are bending over backwards, trying to find the best, the best situation and to include them, actually.
You are people with a good heart. I'm not criticising.
No, I didn't want to get
but if you go back to the rulers we did at the beginning, if you start from the wrong position, if you start from the wrong assumption. When I took my job over at Babington, children were out of class for 7, 8, 9 months learning English. So that was great. You took 30 kids that couldn't speak English properly, and you pulled them together, and miraculously their English would improve. Huh? Any more questions?
Tina, we have one. Tina.
Yeah?
2, we have 2.
Robert. We need a microphone here, please.
Okay, hi.
Yeah?
I'm Tina.
Hello, Martina. Can we take a microphone there next?
So I'm from Finland, and I would like to ask, I've just heard you mention once the word context.
Yeah.
And I think that authenticity and authentic context is something that helps very much in learning. If you take it to the authentic settings, because very often school textbooks and textbooks and things like that, they're sort of parted from reality, and they become very strange, or the student gets estranged from them. So how do you take sort of real life into your classrooms, and how do you use that to help children understand?
Oh, I've taught for 30 years without using textbooks. I've made the materials for my own lessons up all the time, precisely for that reason. So if you go back 30 years in the United Kingdom, we had a large number of children come from the Caribbean islands that were to live in Britain. Now, they were achieving, we suddenly noticed they were achieving very badly in UK education. There's no language there because they speak English in Jamaica, they speak English in England. And what research found was that these Jamaican children were looking at textbooks with white mummy, white daddy, 2 white children, and a picture of plants that grow in England, not plants that grow in Jamaica. So they couldn't relate to the textbook. So with a lot of teachers, we make our own materials and our own resources as we go along. The internet's a fantastic boon because we can take pictures off there that relate to the children we're working with.
Could the children do their own textbooks?
Well, it's funny you say that because one of the projects I'm doing, Andre's taking a gap year, he's got his fabulous exam results. He's a Roma ambassador working for the European Union on the project with me. And one of the things he's doing is making some Roma-related resources for teaching in different countries.
Sounds great.
Okay, I think we have time maybe just for one more question, please. One more.
There is one.
Might be from volunteer.
I'm working in teacher education at the university, and my students, I teach inclusive education at the university, and my students believe that inclusive education works only if they see good examples. Like you just told us the example of Babylon. Do you have concepts how to bring more good examples into education, or teacher education, teacher further education?
Well, I mean, sitting here doing what we've done this afternoon, if we could use the same virtual room and streaming this out to 4,000 to 5,000 people, we would, without spending a lot of money moving people physically and paying some hotels, we could do a lot of exchanges through this, because I believe this virtual room gives the people who are streaming out there, it's probably going to be quite a lot of rude comments sent in about what I've been saying, but you can interact and discuss it. So that would be the first way. Babington is actually what we call a national support school, so that we're recognised as a centre of excellence in the country. So if you're in Sheffield and the government inspector comes and says, you're not teaching your Roma children very well, they say, what do you expect? They're Roma, they don't like education. They say, it's funny you should say that. There's a school called Babington Leicester where Roma children learn very well. Go and visit them and see how it's done. When they do that, I send them to lessons with the Roma kids for a whole day. They have to go to every single lesson, go to break and lunch with the Roma kids, and then tell me the Roma kid can't learn. Can't do it. Okay, so I think that's coffee now, is it, Heather?
Yes.
Well,
Well, I want to thank Mark first of all. Excellent, thank you. He will be here with us for the rest of the day and maybe tomorrow, so if you have anything you want to ask him, please grab him. Before we finally finish, I have 3 announcements. One is, please, if you took a headset, can you please put them back on the table as you leave the room? The next 2 are about tomorrow. Tomorrow, very importantly, lunch is in 2 places, directly outside this room, but also in the restaurant just across the gangway, the Herrera restaurant, where we have breakfast. So two points for lunch tomorrow. Second thing is, you may in your bag have found an intriguing box. Well, you're wondering what it is. Well, tomorrow on level 5 in room Mercury, there will be a workshop given by Marco Neves on virtual reality. And this little box is a virtual reality tool. So if you want to see how it works, go to the workshop tomorrow.